And with me now in our Disruptor series is Paul Jones. And Paul is running for Congress in District 38 in the People's Republic of California. Paul, good to have you with us.
Good morning. Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Paul, where is District 38?
This is District 38, Southern California. We're down here in the Artesia, Lakewood, Bellflower, La Palma. It's supposedly last figures is 785,000 in this district.
Who is the incumbent?
Oh, old friend Linda Sanchez.
Oh, yes, I remember Linda beat Bullet Bob Dornan in, I'm going to get the year, hang on, 1996 or 98, right?
98, but she was in District 39, and then District 39, she moved over just right into 38. So she's been in District 38 since 2002.
Right, but she beat Bob Dornan in, 98, right?
98, yeah, I believe it was 98.
Yeah, Bob Dornan ran for president. That was that was somewhat of a conservative area, but Bob was very popular. But he ran for president and didn't go well with his constituents. They didn't like it because he was never around, and he ended up getting beat. And then he said she harvested votes or something, and I remember that big scandal. Newt Gingrich wouldn't do anything. He got mad at Newt. I was there in the middle of that whole thing. But Sanchez has been there for a long time. She's a pretty tough candidate. How do you make your race competitive, Paul? Mine is basically a grassroots situation where I'm out knocking on doors. The only way I think that I'm going to be able to really make a difference is to make sure that people understand where I stand as far as the economy, as far as veterans' rights. It's a never-ending thing, but I think it's better. For me, if you're going to do this, you want to be honest. You want to stand in front of these people and let them ask questions. Don't be afraid to answer. Paul, why has California gone crazy?
We have a governor that's crazy, and this is tax county right here. Everything in L.A. County and Orange County and every county in the state is just everyone's suffering over these taxes. It's insane. 72% of all small businesses fold between 2 and 5 years. They just can't make it because of the taxation. These things have to be changed.
So you got all these problems there. What about this homeless epidemic?
Yeah, that we're sitting here. We're looking at this, and like always, here we sit in a democratic destruction zone, and of course they're going to cry and go directly to President Trump because he's going to be the only one to fix it. They haven't. Mm-hmm. They have no idea how to take care of the homeless. You have a mayor who puts out this great big thing about, I spent $1 billion on laptops for the homeless so that they can find shelter. Well, how are you going to get those laptops out to homeless to teach them how to use it? Are you serious?
Mm-hmm. Crazy. So no real answer for the homelessness. There's areas of Los Angeles that are basically just taken over by homeless people, right? They call it Tent City. There's a rat epidemic. We got 80,000 people homeless walking around. So everybody goes. Disease is rampant. People getting feet amputated because they're bitten by rats. And you get your governor running around blaming Trump for everything. Well, what exactly does the president have to do with 80,000 homeless people in Los Angeles?
He doesn't. That's the whole point. The governor will turn around and blame everybody except for himself. He has a problem with looking in the mirror. Well, my nickname for him is generally, pretty boy, because he does nothing else but, stand in front of a mirror and comb his hair. And it just, he doesn't come down here. He lives behind his big walls. We're sitting here with all of these condemned buildings. They're everywhere. Repossessions, homes that, could house and give them a new beginning. just allow them to go in, give them the tools to do this, let them walk in and just completely start their own, renovations.
Well,
give them some pride. Every homeless person that I've had the opportunity to talk to, they're either very distrustful, they don't trust anyone within society at this point, and they've been on the streets so long that some of them don't want to come back.
That's a way of life.
Yes. I mean, it's impossible.
I mean, it's hard for you and I to sit here and think about this, but you're right. You have epidemic existential homelessness in Los Angeles. I mean, that's how it grows to 80,000 people. That's unheard of. But you got 80,000 people, rats running around, and it becomes a way of life. As you said, I bet there's some people that have been there for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. I mean, that has become their way of life. They live in a box or a tent on the street, and they manage to survive, and they get up whenever they get up and go. I mean, they're in the heat. It is what it is. I mean, that's how they survive.
Well, that's the whole thing, and I went from many years ago of living in my car to actually living on the street. The car is repossessed or not repossessed, but towed away for expired tags. And I spent my time on the street. And our problem is if you allow these people to continue to live on the streets, they're never going to come off the streets.
Yeah, because it's a way of life. Now, tell us about your own story. How did you end up homeless, Paul?
I came out of the Marine Corps. I was having an enormous amount of nightmares, back and forth to the VA. I was out here in California. I was going back and forth to the Long Beach VA at that time. Their only remedy was, here's some sleeping pills, which is the last thing you want to do. And I couldn't find work. I couldn't keep myself together. And that's how I ended up. I mean, I was standing on street corners begging for change. Mm-hmm. It forces you to realize that, you're going downhill. You've hit the bottom. Now, how are you going to get out? But a lot of the homeless people that I do speak with, they're telling me basically that they've given up. Many of them have given up. All they hear is promises. And unfortunately, no matter how many times we sit here and say, we want to help the homeless, you don't want them in your backyard, but yet you want to help. Well, how are you going to help? You find them, give them back their dignity. Give them the opportunity to help themselves. And there's a lot of them out there that will gladly give them a hand and get them out of the streets. It's got to be done. Wow. And I don't see this governor doing anything. I really don't. So, President Trump, come save me.
Well, that's basically, they're just looking for some kind of financial bailout. And then when the president offers to help, they said, no, go away. We don't want your help. So they do nothing.
Exactly.
I mean, it's inconceivable to me that you can live in Los Angeles, you can live in Southern California, have 80,000 homeless people, have this rat epidemic that makes, I live in Washington, D.C. most of the week. It makes Washington look like child's play. I mean, there's no comparison to what, we have some homeless people, we have some rats running around, nothing like what I've seen in Los Angeles. I mean, it's nothing. It's like half there's a portion of the entire city, which is basically one big homeless tent.
Exactly.
With thousands and thousands of rats.
Yeah, I mean, when I was homeless, it was a whole big difference there. There wasn't that many of us. Now you're looking at, 80,000, 90,000, 100,000. It's just, the numbers continue to go up because other states are saying, well, here's a bus ticket. Well, I'll just send you to Los Angeles. It's sunny there and it'll be nice.
We're with Paul Jones. He's a Republican candidate for Congress running in District 38 in California, running against Linda Sanchez uphill battle. But he's knocking on doors, and he was homeless. When you were homeless, Paul, where did you live?
In Long Beach, on the streets right off of 2nd Street in St. Joseph's Place. I mean, the only thing I had was to keep clean was, going into by the ocean there where there were bathrooms. So I lost my dignity. I lost so much. And the struggle, the only thing that really finally helped me was just turning around, getting down on my knees, and looking up and saying, "Jesus, help." And he did. That's why one of my campaign cards read, "Giving America back to God," because if we don't, we're going to lose it all.
So when you say your prayers were answered, finish the story, Paul. What happened?
Finally, someone came along and said, you can live in the back, and I'll give you start working. I mean, I was washing dishes, sweeping floors, scrubbing toilet, anything to make enough money to where I could start getting back on my feet. If it weren't for the people around me, I would have never made it. I wouldn't have. I mean, I would be just like the rest of these people right now, and by now I'd probably be dead.
So, no drugs addiction, no alcohol, just...
No, none at all. I never, even in Vietnam, I just didn't get it. My fear in Vietnam was if I'm too stoned, and the enemy comes in, and I'm just going to stand there. So no drugs, no alcohol. Never have had that problem.
So it's just a matter of you had these nightmares. You went down the tubes. You were living in your car. Your car got repoed for no tags. That got towed away. You're on the street. You're washing dishes. You're sweeping floor. You're doing anything to get money in order to eat that day, right?
Exactly. There wasn't all these people standing on the off ramps of the freeways and holding out signs that said I'm homeless. I was with crushed dignity. I couldn't even go that far to be standing out there. I would just say I'm homeless. I'm hungry. Can you buy me a meal or whatever it was? It was never can you give me money so I can go buy a bottle of booze? Mm-hmm. No, and then I'm one of those people that came back from Vietnam who has had so many nightmares and problems. I have to admit there was a point over 40 years ago to where I sat on a couch with a bottle of sleeping pills that the VA had given me, and I went ahead and took the bottle. I was one of those people that did attempt to commit suicide. Fortunately for me, God just said, "No, I don't think so. You're back." So I just tried to keep going.
Paul, that's an unbelievable story. And you're a former Marine, right? You were in the Marines in Nam.
Oh, correct. I am a Marine. Once a jarhead, always a jarhead.
Right. So you're a Marine. You came back from Nam. You're homeless. What do you do now, Paul?
Right now, I'm a retired educator. I was teaching computer skills to kids kindergarten through 5th grade, and then from there, I went on to work at the community center teaching senior citizens how to understand the internet.
That's a good job to have.
It was a good job.
I'd send my mom to your class if you were still teaching it. She needs to know how to run the internet. You'd probably be pretty good. She has one of those jitterbug phones. That's about as far as she got. And I did buy her a beeper once. So, Paul, look, do you have a family?
Yes, I do. Yep.
And so
23 years worth.
And so, did that come after your bout with homelessness?
Yeah. I've been married a few times, which is, unfortunately, and the lady that I'm married to now, she had 4 children. I had 4 children from previous marriages. Mm-hmm. So we became the Brady Bunch, basically.
Well, Paul, let me just tell you this. I'm 61 years old, and let me tell you what I've learned. Marriages are like baseball. Only the last one matters.
Yes. Only
the last time at bat matters. If you're up with 2 runs down and you got the bases loaded, 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th, and you hit a double in the gap and win the game, nobody remembers the fact that you struck out 3 times earlier in the game, right? Nobody cares, right?
No. It's
like baseball, man. Your last marriage is the only one that matters, Paul.
Well, Paul, I had an anger problem back then too. I mean, after all of the words and the being told that you're a killer, you're a murderer, you kill children, how could you do that, and so on.
This was in Vietnam.
Right, when I came back. When I came home, I walked off the plane in San Francisco, and I'm being met by people who are screaming at me. So it was not a good time. That was
a difficult time. You went. Did you enlist or you get drafted?
To be honest, I was 17 years old with 7 other guys standing in front of a juvenile court judge in Chicago. We were given the choice between the gentleman in the front of the courtroom with the badge or the Marine Corps recruiter in the back. So all of our parents signed the paperwork. We were tested physical, sworn in, put on a flight at O'Hare Airport, and the reality hit when we landed in San Diego, 10 o'clock California time.
That you were 17 and in the Marines.
17 and in the Marine Corps, and then spent my 18th birthday as I was coming into Vietnam. So, when they say you grew up in a rough neighborhood, I did.
I would say Vietnam was a pretty tough neighborhood as a Marine. And then when you came home, instead of coming home to cheers, I'm 61, so I kind of lived through all this. You came home to abuse and protesters and called a baby killer and everything else as a young man. Paul, how long were you in Nam?
Just short of 2 years, 22 months in country.
So I'm going to say you're 65?
69.
69. Okay, you're a little bit older than me. I kind of remember that, and I remember getting out of high school. I was playing baseball, and I was about a sophomore. War was still going on, and I'm like, man, if I get drafted, that's the end of playing ball. So I was worried about playing baseball. You were worried about surviving. It's a big difference.
Exactly.
Of course, the war ended before I got there, and I was blessed and able to do what I wanted, but tough situation. Paul, I hope everybody has heard this story. We're going to put it up and make sure you get it out. You're in a tough district. Sanchez is the favorite there, but I have tremendous respect for what you've done and what you've been through, Paul, and what you're doing now. And
I appreciate that.
Thank you. People want more information, Paul. Where do they go?
My website will be up by tomorrow. It'll be pauljonesforcongress.com.
pauljonesforcongress.com. Paul, homeless, now he's running for Congress. Only, my friends, in America. Those of us that
yes, sir.
Those of us that were young men in the Vietnam era and lived through that, you never forget. There's a thing about 9/11, never forget. My never forget is Vietnam. I was not there. Luckily, as I said, I didn't. War was over before my number came up, but so many people that did go that were my older friends that went experienced the same thing, and we should never forget that. Paul Jones, thanks for being with us.